Hey guys, welcome to this live stream. Today I'll be showing you the VSKYLABS Cabri G2, actually the pre-release of the VSKYLABS Cabri G2. And before I start, there are a couple of things that I'd like to mention about this helicopter. One of them I already said, this is a pre-release, so don't expect anything on this helicopter to be final. I'll be actually showing some of the stuff that are either not working, not implemented, or some minor mistakes, some minor errors at with some of the textures, etc. The other thing is that you are probably seeing the helicopter moving a bit, and that's because my computer is trying to kill itself as it's trying to run X-Plane along with OBS and other software that I'm using to actually do this live stream. So um, these small jumps are not normal under normal operation with any computer. And the other thing that I'd like to mention is the fact that VSKYLABS takes a very different approach to development and a very different approach as how to both not only develop or make their own their helicopters or their products, but also as they keep on developing and keep on doing them. So what VSKYLABS usually does is they quickly release a product. So they whenever they think it's pretty good or it's ready for people to start using it, they release it, but they never consider it as final, and they sometimes even release the product or release the aircraft, release the helicopter, whatever, not in the final form. And some of the features may be lacking, and some mistakes and some errors may be present in the product, and they are aware of it, and they will be keeping on working in trying to solve these issues and trying to improve the products. So they actually say that their products are always in beta. So they're always trying to improve it, always trying to get things to work better and to actually function as they should in the final version of the product. So that being said, do not expect this to be a perfect product right now. Not only because VSKYLABS doesn't release perfect products right out of the bat, but also because this is a pre-release. And what I'm going to show you is the startup procedure, which has a couple of glitches, a couple of problems, and I am not going to show you the Cabri flying because first of all, this is not my intention right now, and second of all, the flight model is not the final one. This is actually a dumbed down flight model, so it's not even close to what the final product will come up with, at least as far as I was told by VSKYLABS. So, having that said, let me just bring up here it is, my checklist. And this is a checklist I did based on a real checklist by some Swiss company that is using the G2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the checklist. I'm going to comment whenever there are nothing for us to do or something is not simulated, which is not all that much, as you will be able to see. And if everything goes wrong, if I don't screw up, at the end we will have our amazing Cabri G2 up and running. Okay, so let's start. And of course, there are some things that we are not going to be able to do, like harness and cockpits. So we don't have harnesses to actually do anything with, and all objects are obviously secure since we are in a sim, so nothing is going to, you know, mess around and go around and hit us on the face or something. So that's something we don't need to do. The G2 does not, at the moment, simulate friction. so we have no friction controls. Okay, so this is another step that we won't be able to do. The next step on our checklist is to check if all the controls travel freely. Okay, so I can actually push my pedals and move my side click left and right, back and forth, and pull the collective up and down, and move the throttle here, and you can see the texture, the actual texture moving. So all my controls are free and working properly, so we can mark that one as checked. Again, friction is something we are not messing with today, so this will be done. And the next one will be the circuit breakers and the hour meter. And the circuit breakers and the hour meter are back here. So I'm using my numpad keys to navigate through the cockpit. And so circuit breakers are not modeled. Okay, so I'm going to consider that they are all in, and the hour meter is also not working. So this is something that is not implemented. We are going to indicate that everything is checked. Now for the fuel shutoff valve, check on. The fuel shutoff valve, it's this one over here. Okay, so if we put it like this, the fuel valve is off. If we put it like this, the fuel valve is on. So fuel valve is on, check. And now for the altimeter, here it is. I know that we are at about 320 feet here at this particular airfield, so altimeter is checked as well. All switches off. We have a few switches here at the bottom of the panel. Okay, if the switches are down, they're off. If switches are up, they are on, except for the carburetor controller here that I will mention later on. And we have a couple more switches over here that I know are on by default, so I'm going to turn them off. And as I'm going to set the mixture to lean. Okay, so this one is done as well. All switches are off. And now the carburetor heating system has to be on auto. So the carburetor heating system is one of the buttons that I've shown in here. It's the one on the right. And this switch has three positions. Auto, which is the one that I have, it's right now. Hot, which is up, and cold, which is down. Unfortunately, on this version of the Cabri G2, the carburetor heat switch only has two positions, hot and auto. I will mention it later on, and I hope that VSKYLABS will implement the cold position. I'm not sure if they didn't do it because they weren't managing to do it for some reason. Um, Another thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning is that VSKYLABS always try to develop and release a product by using only what Explain allows them to use. So they don't develop any custom plugins or anything. The fact that the carburetor switch only has two positions right now may be because Explain does not allow to have a third position. I don't know, but that's probably the explanation. I'm not seeing VSKYLABS just failing to or overlooking or not doing because they didn't know it existed. It's actually here. So carburetor heating system, it's auto, okay, and we are ready to actually start the sequence that will get our helicopter up and running. And let me see, we have some comments here. Let me just comment here. Reply to Belgio. Hey Belgio. Yeah, the checklist will be available. I know VSKYLABS will make it available. If not, or as an alternative, I will have this same checklist available for you guys to download at HeliSimmer.com. Okay, so either way, you guys will have a checklist for sure. Okay then, let's move on, and let's move on with starter clearance. Okay, we have starter clearance. Our ATCs, they are pretty cool guys, so they will allow us to start up. The next step will be to turn the master switch on. So the master switch is the one here on the left, and we are turning it on. And I'm not sure if you guys can hear the stuff that's happening here or not. You probably are. Things start to light up. And if you guys know the Cabri G2 on this display over here on the top left, the big one, you guys usually have some checks, some self checks that the system does. Again, VSKYLABS is using only what's available for as a default for on X-Plane. So they have not implemented that. Okay, master switch is on, and our switch has to be on backup. I'm going to zoom in on the panel here, and the NR switch is this one. On this position right now is on mute. I'm going to flip it up to backup, and this green light will turn on. So NR switch on backup, on our green light is on. Okay. The next step, I have no idea what I have to do. I have no indication. I have nothing. There's nothing I actually know what to do here. So I'll just mark as done. But it's actually some self-tests of for oil and carburetor temperature. Governor off. We'll have to check if the light is on. So the governor is controlled over here at the cyclic. We have two indications for the starter and the governor. VSKYLABS added these labels. This does not exist on the Cabri. Since I'm going to try and show you guys, since the switches are actually hidden here at the tip of the collective. So the starter is this button over here, and the governor switch is this one over here. So governor is off. We can see the light here, the blue light, indicating that the governor is off. Okay, so that's another item for us to check. Strobe light on. So again, let's go to the switches, and strobe light is on. We can actually go outside and check that the strobe light is on. Meanwhile, because of my low FPS, Belgio didn't give me a 1080 Ti yet, so I have bad FPS. So the helicopter is moving slowly to the left. Okay, so strobe lights are on, and we can mark that as done. And we have to turn on the fuel pump and check the pressure. Now, the fuel pump pressure, the fuel pressure is indicated by this little gauge over here. Okay, so when we turn the pump on, which is this switch over here, this has to clamp. So let's go and turn it on, and here we go. Fuel pump, or fuel pressure, is up to 34. Okay, cool. Let's mark this one as done as well. Manual fuel injection as needed. Now, this is something that we don't actually need to do. It is, I think it's usually recommended when it's colder, and we need to kind of prime the fuel, and this is done by actually you guys can't see it, but I'm moving my collective, and this is actually done by moving the collective, and you see this little blue triangle here moving. So what I'm doing right now is priming the fuel. But this is something that I never found out to be necessary to get the Cabri working on this simulation. But okay, manual fuel injection is needed. Throttle 7%. I'm going to just add the notch to my throttle. Okay. Again, you guys, let's see if I can actually show it here. Okay, so I'm just pushing this a little here, and this one is done. Rotor brake, apply, and then lock forward. So I'm going to apply rotor brake by clicking here, and then lock forward again. So this one is done as well. Okay. Now magneto and plasma on, check beeper. Again, there's something missing here. I do turn them on, and I have no idea what the beeper is. I was hoping for some kind of horn or some sound or something, but nothing is happening. So I'll just mark that on as checked. Okay. Check if area is clear. Yeah, area is clear. We have no one around us. This is a sim. I have no people around me, so I'll mark this as clear as well. And now it's time to actually activate the starter and get this puppy running. So I'm clicking the starter here, and okay, something okay.